I was born in 19, whatever. I was born in the 70s. And one of the toys sitting in the basement left over from the 70s was Tyco racing tracks. They had slot cars, which is a peg on the bottom of the vehicle, powering the little Matchbox or Hot Wheels size car around a track. And then they had one that was two little strips of copper. Actually, you know, copper, and that sat on the top. And with that kind, it's not a slot car. It's not staying in one part of the track. It could move either way. So this, in modern technology and Ford going electric, made me think as a Motor City man about the infrastructure and how we're gonna, make a vehicle charge last. People have put extra batteries in their vehicles, kind of like buying a second, you know, fuel tank or something like this so they can go longer distances. But in the long run, America, if it does want purity of air, less carbon emissions when you're taking a nice walk somewhere, because I walk a lot, I notice sometimes it's just worse than smoking cigarettes to simply walk a couple miles down a busy road. So, anyway, the thought was if they could have a new device, someone would have to invent this that could charge the way the cell phone charges my earbuds. I set it on top of the cell phone. Of course, there's plastic, there's polarity switches, there's things in between it, so there's insulation between this and this case right here, and yet somehow they're diverting current through insulated materials or whatnot, so that the charge can happen from one device to the next. And I thought if you put something new, again, some engineers would have to think of this on the bottom of your electric vehicles. And then again, transportation companies would have to think about this in terms of civil engineering. If you started with a stop sign at a traffic stop that is going to charge the car for however long, then you have just a static place, a little, I don't know, like a grid where you could get this first invention of the charger, the charger on the bottom of the vehicle to work. The next idea is to plant it at strategic spots in stretches of road, really, so that well, if I'm going this far, where's my next charging track? Right? So MDOT or whatever state transportation company is doing this kind of thing is going to build this as a prototype, really, for the future of distributing that power up into the vehicles that have the charging mechanism on the bottom of the vehicle. Because again, like myself, I don't like driverless anything. I like to drive my own vehicle. Most people are that way. We're used to steering where we don't have something hugging us magnetically from the bottom. All that is going to have to be, again, software engineers. However, and in a lot of ways, it makes me think of before they had asphalt or cement highways, Ford put a test track on 8 Mile and saw how it worked. In the same way, maybe they could partner with MDOT or whoever else out there in National Highway Transportation Safetyville and do a prototype of this whole thing. Because again, Ford went electric. We all know it. The country needs to have good ideas as to how on earth we're going to get long distances. I don't want to buy a Mustang and not be able to drive it more than 300 miles, really. And also, when I think of a stop sign charger, I think gridlock. And when I think of pulling over to a Sam's Club to charge every hour of my long trip, it's not as quick as petroleum, you know what I mean. It's going to take a half hour to charge my car at the Murphy gas station or whatever. Kind of thinks gridlock and stoppage, and people still want petrol vehicles for that. Also, you have to think too, what if the grid goes down? What if we lost power? So again, I'd talk to Mr. Ford engineer and go, somehow you have to have a backup plan for if we lost power, how do I put gas in my car? So hybrid technology still to me makes more sense than all electric, but I know they want to go all electric. Um, the thought was that start with a stop sign, just a pad I can park my car on. You welded something to the chassis to make a prototype, and then let the process play out. And eventually you'll have a mile of road where you can run it back and forth. And eventually you'll have a Mustang or an F-150 that can ride down the road for 1,000 miles in America, hitting each little charging strip every 400 miles or whatever, and racing like that old time toy I used to play with, which was the Tyco. Again, it was all electric, really. You just plugged it in and zing, zing, zing. And then there was a little, if you wanted to switch tracks, if you wanted to pass another car, and they used to fly off, sadly, so they didn't have software back in the 70s. It's kind of true. Not for toys like that. Peace. Goodbye.